Hey, Met fans, how are you? Happy Thursday. Happy last game of the series against the Phillies day. Yes, who would have thought when the week began that we would have won three in a row against Philly? Philly was red hot, somewhat red hot coming into the series, and we were not hitting at all at runners in scoring position. There was panic in Metville, and guess what? Things are looking a lot better today. Hopefully, the weather forecast is going to look a little bit better today. I sure hope so, because we got the greatest pitcher in the planet going today, Jacob DeGrom. And what better way to close out a four-game series than having the DeGrominator on the mound? But before we talk about that, let's talk about yesterday's big win. Now, they always say revenge is sweet, and David Peterson got his revenge. He didn't pitch all that well last week in his first start of the year against Philly. In the rematch against Philly yesterday, Peterson rocked. It's one of the best performances of the year for the Mets. I think only Jacob DeGrom could say he matched him so far in performances. After that performance yesterday, Peterson was in fuego. Struck out a career-high 10 strikeouts, and he just gave up 2 hits over 6 innings. And the beautiful thing about that is, and what I'm admiring about the Mets is they're keeping their pitch count low. Even with all these strikeouts, the pitch count is low. And I think Peterson I think he threw 85 pitches, if I'm not mistaken. I remember seeing that before. 8 pitches, I'm sorry. 80 pitches through 6 innings, and that's not bad at all. And even Louis Rojas, easy for you to say, right, Met fans? Even Louis Rojas said, you could tell he was on a mission tonight. This kid doesn't get in his head. He just goes and corrects what he needs to correct. And that is what we want to see. We want to see a guy on the fifth day. And we got some gamers this year. I'm telling you, we know what he can do. Stroman, he's the ultimate competitor. And like I said, he's on contract. Taiwan Walker, he's been looking good. Now, Pearson, I don't want to jinx it or whatever, but I love this starting. We have no similar back yet. And who knows? Who we want to start when he comes back, and we're still waiting for his return. So this is very, very encouraging, and especially if you're a David Peterson fan. And I've been expecting this from him. He's a 25-year-old lefty. He's got poise. I mean, they had high hopes on him. It's not like he's some country bumpkin that came out of the woods. He was a first-round pick for the Mets. And the thing I like about Peterson is he just keeps an even demeanor out there on the mound. Such a well-composed pitcher. And like I said, lefties are always, most of the time, are a little bit later bloomers than righties. So this could be the impressive outing that can kickstart Peterson into being one of the upper echelon pitchers. Regardless, he's going to be the backbone of our rotation this year. It's not even a question. He's going to be one of our starters. And that's comforting to see because a couple of years ago, he was off the radar, and now he's one of the guys. And I would think of him as one of the replacements for Zach Wheeler. And I know a lot of people were upset, and I'm a big Zach Wheeler fan. Let me tell you a little bit something about myself. I'm from the old school, and a lot of people don't agree with it, that once a Met, always a Met. And to me, the years he had as a Met, I always enjoyed watching him pitch. Could be a little bit frustrating sometimes with his control problems, his wildness, but he has such movement on his ball. And I always wanted to see Zach prosper with the Mets. He had a couple of good years, a couple of good half seasons, but never really turned into that pitcher. So I hate to say it, I don't want to see him do well with Philadelphia, but I will root for him when he does pitch. Hopefully he becomes Jacob DeGrom and gets a bunch of no decisions. But yesterday he just didn't have it. In his return to Citi Field, the Mets had their bats out. So, we weren't getting many base hits, but yesterday against Zach, we got 10 hits on Wednesday, and good to see another guy come out. We had it seems like almost every day someone stepping up and doing well for the Metsies. And yesterday was James McCann. He had added his first home run in a Met uniform at 2-run shot in the 8th that provided some breathing room. So it was nice to see him get on board. It wasn't against Zach, but it was just nice to see, a little insurance for the big game. And McCann went 3 for 4, and he said being able to see guys string together at bats, start to string together hits, and see our offense come alive to help our pitching. We're pitching the ball extremely well. And so our offense putting up runs, that's huge. Well said, James. I know these guys often give you Captain Obvious statements, but he kind of nailed it even though he was obvious. So that's basically that in a nutshell. And Peterson, he was pitching good right out of the gate. He had a 1-2-3 first inning with strikeouts of Rhys Hopkins and Bryce Harper. As I said coming into this series, I was a little bit worried about Rhys Hopkins. I said, this guy is just in fuego, and he could be going back to his rookie year where he just lit the league on fire. But we've kept him under check. That's one of the reasons why we won 3 games, and it's always good to see Bryce Harper go down. And Peterson was cruising. The only hit, his first hit of the game was the one run he gave up, and that was to Gene Segura, who went yardy in the 5th inning to cut it to 2-1. So came a little bit of a nail biter at that time. But it's funny how, like, with the rain out Monday and Stroman saying he wouldn't pitch until the weekend, and then things changed and Stroman pitched Tuesday, and Peterson got pushed back today, how things have worked out because Peterson was originally scheduled to pitch Monday, and that got rained out, and that gave him some time to turn around a mechanical adjustment he made to tighten up his delivery between starts. And Peterson even said making that small mechanical change and just being able to get ahead of guys, really used the 2-seam and slider tonight was the big difference. Just getting ahead of guys and putting yourself in a good position leads to results, and they sure did. So after that one so-so outing against Philly, he came back and dominated, and that's what we need from Peterson. Like I said, he just needed 80 pitches last night, and that was great. He was removed for a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 6th with 2 outs and runners on the corners. The Mets were trying to put the game away. But Jonathan Vorak couldn't continue his magic, and he grounded out to first to end the inning. And then Jairus La Familia came in to begin the 7th inning, and he walked JT Realmuto, walked twice against Peterson. The only guy who really hit the ball besides Segura hard against Peterson. And after Familia got a ground out, Segura squibbled an infield single, put runners on the corner, 1 out. And we're in trouble. But then Aaron Loop came on to bail Familia out, getting pinch hitter Didi Gregorius in the one type of hit at bat you wanted from Didi, a double play grounder, and that ended the inning. And then we were in good shape from that point on. How did we get in good shape? Well, the Mets jumped on Wheeler. It wasn't wheels up yesterday. It was wheels down. And the Mets got 3 straight singles from Brandon Nimmo. Have I been singing his praise since day one? And he's continuing to be hot. Francisco, don't call me Frankie Lindor. And Dominic Smith, he's got to play every day, folks. Looks like he will be. They went on to combine for 8 hits. So they started the game with 3 straight hits. And then they got 8 for the day. Uncle Pete, the polar bear, drove in a run in the first to make it a 2-0 lead, and added a sac fly in the 7th that put the Mets 3-1. Rojas said after the game, that is what our offense can do, quality at bats put together. I'm glad we got some big hits tonight. We created situations to score. We just haven't been getting the big hit, so the bats are starting to heat up, and that they are. Hopefully they can continue today. I'm not sure what the weather forecast was. I know it was pretty bad yesterday, but I think it looks like they may be able to get the game in. I think it's like 60-70% chance of rain all afternoon. The one thing you don't want is have a rain delay with Jacob deGrom because that nullifies his start. So hopefully if they play, rain, go away, come back another day, so Jacob pitches solid 6 or 7. But we shall see. It's going to be a big game. Zach Eflin going on the mound for the Phillies. And wouldn't a 4-game sweep be nice this early in the season against Philly? I'm hoping for it. Michael Conforto, unfortunately, didn't get a hit yesterday. A little disappointing there. But Brandon Nimmo continues to be an on-base machine. He went 3 for 5 with a run scored yesterday. His on-base percentage so far in 8 games is .464. That's off the charts. That's Barry Bonds, like when Barry Bonds was dominating baseball. And his on-base percent, OPS is 1.155. Frankie Lindor, good to see him getting 2 hits in the game and a walk, so he was an on-base machine too. His average is up to 222. Dominic Smith, another guy, he's getting a hit every game he's playing in this year. 3 for 5 with an RBI. Jeff McNeil got a hit. I'm still waiting for him to break out. He always feasts against Philly. He went 1 for 3. Michael Conforto still looking for to break out. He's batting 120 on the year. We've been able to carry him so far, so hopefully he breaks out soon. And McCann, like, big game, and he's doing well as catcher. I just love everything he does behind the plate as far as fundamentals, and the fact that he has a good bat. The Mets knew what they were doing. Uncle Sandy knew what he was doing there by signing James McCann. So I'm very happy. I hope you're happy about McCann too. And Louis Guillorme, like, it's good to see him get a start every now and then. He deserves it. He did so well in spring training. He just keeps getting better and better. So a big win yesterday. Very, very happy about it. I hope you guys are too. Mets knew what they were doing. Uncle Sandy knew what he was doing. Hold on here. Little feedback in the studio. Anyway, little feedback. That's what happens when you go live. Anyway, now we're going to go to the fun stuff. As we do every year, every day, every year. It's like a one big time warp here. We go to this day in Met history. And today, as we always do, we start with our trivia question of the day. Our trivia question today, and we'll provide the answer at the end of the broadcast, is who is the all-time pinch hit leader in Met history for home runs? So let me phrase this more properly. Of all the Mets, who has the most career pinch hit home runs? There you go. That makes more sense. And we'll be back with the answer right after this fun segment. Happy birthday first to Jeremy Burnitz, who wore number 5 and number 20. A lot of high hopes for Jeremy Burnitz. I always liked Jeremy. I just wish he kind of blossomed after he left the Mets. But he was with us for 4 seasons. 2002 is when he got the most playing time with 479 at-bats. His batting average that year wasn't that good, 215. He hit 19 homers with 54 RBIs. His on-base percentage was .311, slugging percentage .365, and batting average .215. He led the Mets in games with 154 in 2002, led the Mets in home runs with 18 in 2003, intentional walks with 6 in 2003, and hit by pitch in 2002 with 10. And he had 2 or more home runs in 2002 at Montreal and the Anaheim Angels in 2003. And he had a 4-hit game against Montreal in 2003. He was basically an outfielder for the Mets. His primary position was right field. He could play a little bit center, a little bit left. And he was a first-round pick, so there was high hopes for Jeremy Burnitz. He was a 17th pick overall, but then the Mets traded him to Cleveland with Joe Roa for Dave Malicki, Paul Bird, Jerry DiPoto, and Jesus Azue. Who remembers that trade? Another happy birthday shout-out goes to Ricky Otero, numero uno in your program. He just played 35 games with the Mets. Played primarily left field and center field. Not much to speak here. 137 batting average in his only year with the Mets and 51 at-bats. Just 1 RBI. But it's his birthday. Let's celebrate it. Happy birthday, Ricky. Excuse me, I have to get some water here. With that cough, you'd think I'm a smoker, but I don't even smoke. Aaron Laffey is birthday today, and Aaron turns 36. He wore number 47 for the Mets. He only pitched 4 games for the Mets in 2013. We picked him up as a free agent in 2012. He had pitched for the Blue Jays prior to that. And the Blue Jays went right back and picked him up like a couple weeks after he was a Met on April 13, 2013. Pitched 4 games, 10 innings pitched. Started 2 games, had an ERA of 7.20. So happy birthday, Aaron Laffey. And another birthday today, Adini Echeverria. He wore number 11 for the Mets, and he was with us in 2019. Seems like a long time ago, but it really isn't. He signed with us as a free agent. He had played for the Pirates prior, and then he was released by the Mets on August 14, 2019, so he didn't last the full year. The Braves claimed him, and then he played 1 more year with the Braves. with the Mets. He had 60 games, 142 at-bats, 5 homers, 18 RBIs. I remember a couple of those home runs were clutch home runs. Maybe you can help me out with that. His batting average was 204, on-base percentage 252, and happy birthday to him. Another birthday, Daniel Zamora, number 73 when he was with the Mets in 2018, 2019. Basically a 1 or 2 batter pitcher. Batting lefty, he was a loogie. He came in and just get a couple of left-handers out now and then. 33 games, total innings pitched 17.2 innings. And then I don't know what happened to him since then. So maybe you guys can help me out. Did he just disappear from the planet? I'm not sure. But those are your birthday boys. So happy birthday to you. Enjoy the big day. And now we are going to go into our archives and talk about this date in Met history. We always pick out one game in Met history that was noteworthy. And today we're picking out the game in 1968. Who remembers that game? Who was around in 1968? I was, but I don't even remember the game. I was just getting into baseball at the time. And the Mets lost one of the longest games in Major League Baseball history, 1-0. The game was played in the Astrodome. As you call, the Astros were our counterpart in the NL expansion in 1962. Neither team had a winning season, but the Mets were starting to get there. They were inching in on success. This is 1 year before the 69 series, World Series championship Mets. So we were getting there. And the Astros weren't. They didn't get to 569, and they didn't have their first winning season until 72. So despite all the myths that, yes, the Mets were worse than the Astros in the beginning there, but the Mets actually turned it around a lot quicker than the Astros. And the Astros didn't even get into the playoffs until 1980. But getting back to this game, back in 1968, the game would last 6 hours and 6 minutes, going 24 innings with only 1 run being scored. It's one of the longest games in MLB history, currently ranking as the 5th longest game ever. At that time, no game had ever gone scoreless beyond 22 innings, and no night game had ever gone that far. Our skipper that game was Gil Hodges, and Gil had to go to his bullpen. He used 8 pitchers on the night and a total of 23 players, so he extended his roster, that's for sure. The Astros used 5 pitchers and 17 players overall. The lineup for the Mets, I always like to go over the lineup, ring a bell and bring back some memories for you. The lineup for the Mets that day was Al Weiss leading off, playing short, Ken Boswell batting second, Tommy Agee center field batting third, Ron Swoboda right field batting fourth, Art Shamsky fifth in left field, Ed Kranepool sixth at first base, Jerry Buchek third base batting seventh, Jerry Grody catching batting eighth, and Tom Seaver batting ninth. The starter for the Astros that day was Don Wilson, who tragically committed suicide, but he was a hell of a pitcher. He threw a mean fastball, and we'll go into detail on how he pitched that day. Obviously, he did well because the game went scoreless for 23 innings. And Rusty Staub, blast from the past. He was the cleanup hitter for the Astros that day, playing first base. So a lot of familiar names. Like I said, 2 starting pitchers, 2 very good pitchers, and you can call Tom an elite pitcher. And they both put in great performances. Seaver pitched 10 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits. He walked no one and struck out 3 batters. He allowed a hit in the second and not another one until the 10th when Laurent Orange, Rusty Staub, singled with 2 outs. From the 11th inning to the 17th inning, the Mets had 5 pitchers: Ron Taylor, Cal Kuntz, Bill Short, Dick Selma, and Al Jackson, Little Al Jackson, and they would allow just 4 hits and 2 walks in the 5 innings the innings that they pitched from the 11th to the 17th. And then Danny Frisella, they needed innings from Danny at this point, and he put in a classic long relief performance. He would come in to pitch 5 shutout innings, allowing 4 hits with 4 strikeouts and a walk. And speaking of Don Wilson, like I said, he was a pretty damn good pitcher in his day. He pitched 9 shutout innings, allowing 5 hits, 3 walks, and striking out 5. Astro pitchers, John Buzzard and Danny Cobbs. I'm sure you Met fans remember them with the Astros, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you do, right? they got them to the 15th inning. From there, Jim Ray came to pitch 7 innings, came on to pitch 7 innings. He struck out 11 Mets, allowing just 2 hits. Now, that's a relief performance. Wade Blasingame came on to pitch the last 4 innings. Now, the Mets did have a chance to win it in regulation when they had 2 men on in the 7th, but Al Weiss grounded out the end of the inning, and in the top of the 9th with 2 men on, Tom Seaver. How about this? They respected Tom, I guess, as a pitcher because they wanted to pitch the bottom of the 9th. Unheard of today, right? What pitcher is going to pitch the bottom of the 9th? And he came up to bat, and that's with 2 men on, and he grounded out to end the inning. So Gil Hodges had a little bit of different philosophy those days than modern managers do. And then the 12th inning, the Mets had a golden opportunity as Grote and Al Weiss both singled. Ken Boswell then singled as well, but Grote, slow as a turtle. He was a slow runner. He couldn't score. And then Tommy Agee then grounded out to end the inning. Agee as well as Swoboda both went 0 for 10. Ouch. 0 for 10. How many guys could say they went 0 for 10 in a game? Well, Tommy Agee and Ron Swoboda can. The Mets got 2 men on in the 19th inning, and a runner actually reached third base. How about that? Now, the whole night, only 3 runners reached third base, but Jim Ray struck out Jerry Grote, and then Cleon Jones stole third. And that's how they got the man on third. And then pitcher Danny Frisella came to bat, and Ray struck him out as well. So I don't know how good a hitter Danny Frisella was, but that was tough to waste the guy on third. But the Mets basically had nobody left until Les Rohr came in, because Danny Frisella's arm was probably starting to fall off. And he was the last pitcher. If this game went 40 innings, it would have to be him or someone who was a position player at this point. He walked Rusty Staub in the 22nd, Les Rohr in a wild pitch advanced in the 2nd. And then with 2 outs, Bob Aspromonte, who would one day become a New York Met, was walked intentionally, and then Rohr struck out Julio Gote to extend the game. In the bottom of the 24th, Norm Miller led off with a hit. Les Rohr then walked him over to second. And remember the toy cannon? Jimmy Wynn was walked intentionally. Rusty Staub grounded out, and the runners advanced to second and third. John Bateman then walked to load the bases in hope of a force at any base. And then next up, Bob Aspromonte hit a ground ball to shortstop. Weiss committed an error, and Norm Miller at 1:37 a.m. crossed the plate to end the game. And anytime you lose a 1-0 game, period, it's a heartbreaker. But when you lose after playing 24 innings, it's got to be devastating. Mets just couldn't score a run that day. And it's ironic that 4 years earlier, the Mets had lost the longest day game in history at that time, a 23 innings, 7-hour, 23-minute, 8-6 loss to the Giants in San Francisco. And you know who was the home plate umpire that day? Ed Sudol. Now, why does that matter to me or to you or anybody else in Met history? Well, it's pretty funny, but 6 years later, Ed Sudol was behind the plate at Shea Stadium on September 11, 1974, when the Mets and Cards played a 25-inning game lasting 7 hours, 5 minutes. And that game is ranked as the second longest in history. And that was the game, remember, Hank Webb threw the ball away on a pickoff move. So 2 tough ways to lose ball games for the Mets. But it is what it is, right? What are you going to do? Anyway, that wraps up our day in Met history. Now, all we need to do is wrap up the trivia question of the day, or Jeopardy question of the day, and that is, which Met is the all-time leader in career pinch hit home runs in Met history? And the answer is, you have your answers locked in? Okay, good. The answer is Mark Carreon. Mark Carreon hit 8 home runs as a New York Met pinch hitter. Pretty good. So that's that. That'll wrap up today's broadcast. I hope you're liking these. I'm getting a lot of good feedback, and I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me. If you ever do want to reach me in any way, you can always email me at phillsj, phillsj, @gmail.com. Phil is short for Phillips, Phil. Stan is short for Stanley, my given name. And 41, I think you Met fans can figure that out. So it's easy to remember. Phil, Stan, just sounds like Phil Hennigan. And Stan Musial. Phil Hennigan, Stan Musial, PHILSTAN 41 @gmail.com. If you like this broadcast, please subscribe. You'll be notified every time we go live. And we're at Baseball Way of Life. And we're the sister YouTube cast to Baseball Way of Life, the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of that, please join. Just look for it on the groups on the Baseball Way of Life, New York Met Baseball Way of Life, and you'll be happy you did. We got a lot of good content and a lot of great people and a lot of great contributors in there. So if you like this podcast, YouTube cast, hit like. Always feel free to leave comments. Always free for you to email me. And if you want to talk about something, we can talk about it on the air. If you email me, or if you even want to come on and split some time with me on a broadcast, that would be great. So that's it for today. Give you a couple hours to get ready for Jacob deGrom today. And it's going to be fun. Mets are going for the sweep today. So enjoy the day. Hopefully the weather's good and Jacob can get a full legitimate start in. So until tomorrow, let's go Mets, play ball, and we'll talk soon. Thanks again for all your support, guys.